Alrighty, everybody, Steve here. Yeah, we're taking a look at the Ulanzi DD02 HD Livestream video switcher unboxing and specifications. So what you can end up doing is you can see the back of me, and I got the microphone, and this video switcher is going to help me because if you've noticed in my prior videos, what ends up happening is that I'll stream from the desk, and then I'll have to pick up the mic and I have to move over to the paint station, and then we got to move stuff and move the chair. We got all kinds of movement going on, which is kind of messed up. So what we'll end up doing, we're hoping to get that fixed by changing some stuff. And again, like I said, this will help in regards to having my video set up. And this switcher is definitely going to help in that regard. And like I said, this is the Ulanzi DD02. It's a video live stream switcher, which is pretty nice. We got some specs, 4-channel HD video input, so we can have up to 4, and then we have a 1-channel HD video loop, input output. So in other words, if I did like video gaming and stuff like that, I could run my console into this and have 0 latency and play the game, and then have other cameras, you know, filming me and recording and all that, and I would be one of the cool kids. But since I don't do that, I'm not going to need it. Has 2 audio output or inputs, has picture-in-picture, it's okay. Multiple monitoring modes, so that's a thing. That's definitely something. It has a Type-C 3.0 video capture. And it also has some other cool things about this. So let's jump right into the unboxing. Now it's interesting because this came out about a year ago, 6 months to a year ago, and it was about $300. It has since dropped in price. It's got little pictures on the back on what we got going on. And I picked it up on B&H for like $259. So we've got some packaging. Always need some good foam. We've got a little, I guess that's quality certified. Set that off to the side. We've got the obligatory instruction packet, which has kind of the different languages. So we'll set that to the side. And now we'll get to the meat and potatoes of this. Here is the switcher. Ooh, that is hefty. That is one hefty piece of equipment. I have to say, I wasn't expecting that. That has got some weight to it. That is a few pounds. You know, I was worried about this because I had seen other video switchers that were on the lower end, and they looked like they were plastic and junk, and this has got some heft to it, which is a good thing because from what I've read, it has a fan in here to keep things cool. So that means there's some high-end electronics in here, especially with all these HDMI inputs, the outputs, the mic. You also have some gains. We'll go over the buttons there. And with that, man, on the back we can see it's got some mounting options. So we could mount this onto the wall, or you could mount it onto a desk and make sure that it doesn't move. So we've got that. This is our power cable. And it should also be the USB-C cable. So nothing like opening stuff brand new out of the box. I don't have my monitor, so I'm not sure if anybody's asking any questions or putting any comments. So I apologize that. This is what will help with that. So we've got a 110, and it's got a little screw adapter that we can see on there, which is nice. So that way things aren't accidentally unplugged. So it is a 100 to 240 volt, 0.8 amp max. Output is 12 volt at 2 amps. So that is nice. And then what we end up having, and this is kind of the trick that comes into this, and the reason, probably one of the main reasons that I bought this, is because of what this can do with this cable. So with this, we have a USB-C, which is a fairly decently sized cable. I mean, it's got to be at least a meter. Well, a meter is 3 feet. I don't know. Maybe this is, you know what? You're going to make me do this, aren't you? Let's go ahead and we'll do a little test here. See if we can't do a little test. This isn't working as I planned. Seriously. So I need to hold the tape and the cable. There we go. And we'll just kind of run this off camera. Wow, we're up to 56 inches. We're up to 71, almost 72 inches. So this cable is 6 feet. It is almost 6 feet long, and it probably is if you stretch it out. I'm 6'2", so this is a good size cable. And the good thing about this is this will allow us to remote this item here. And you might be saying, well, you're going to have all the cables and everything. What, you know, you're just going to have another cable going back and forth and whatever. And no, there's a trick. There's a trick to this, and we will see what that trick is as soon as I put this back into place here. Just kind of do a little quick boom like that. So let's get back into this. We'll go over some of the inputs on this, which will go on the back. And we've got our DC input that we have there. Again, we talked about that. We have PD, so in other words, you could power this up with a power bank, which is pretty nice, because then you would be able to use this in like a mobile configuration or something that's, you know, you're going out on the road, you could have your switcher and have it powered up with a power bank. Again, you've got some other options besides just using the wall plug. We have a mic 1 and a mic 2. It's a 3.5 millimeter jack, so you could have a couple of different mic systems on this, which is pretty nice. We have our HDMI 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4 inputs, and this can accept up to 4K 30 inputs, if I'm not mistaken, and then you're going to get an output of 1080, which is kind of what the majority of them do. But the fact that you can get 4K 30 as inputs on these, and your output that is going to go out to your computer or wherever it's going, you can also have out to a monitor. You could have your input to your computer with the USB-C, and then you have the C to C. That's where this cable's going to come into play. That's going to be awesome. So we have our 2 mics, and then up here we also have a microphone or a headphone jack. So in other words, we could monitor the audio on this, and you might be saying, well, what do you mean monitor the audio? Well, let's turn this around and I'll show you why. What we end up having is the corresponding microphone 1, microphone 2 on the gain. So in other words, we could use that headphone jack to monitor the audio of all of this, and yeah, that's kind of awesome. Now, the other thing that comes in with this is that you have cameras that have microphones. So like all of the cameras I have, like this Emmet 4K 30, I also have the Brio, Sony Brio or whatever, they all have their little own microphones with them that go through the HDMI. Now with this system, you could use the audio from each individual input here, or you could input your own audio through mic 1 and mic 2, which is kind of nice. So like if I ended up having a wireless microphone, I could plug it into here. And then if I had a guest that I was doing an interview, they could be on microphone number 2. Again, there's just a lot of different options. So for example, let's take a look at, here we have the DJI microphone, wireless microphone system. And what we can end up doing is actually hooking the receiver up to that 3.5 mic input, and then we could adjust the gain using those volume knobs there, which is pretty nice. So again, this gives us a lot of flexibility in regards to, okay, well, we've got me, You know, we could have my guest use this other microphone here, and yeah, it works with that. So we would just have to use a cable to hook up to that. Another thing that you could end up using, which I just recently got in, which is another DJI product, and this one's a lot smaller. This is the DJI Mini, and it's got the little screen on there, but with this we can actually use the 3.5 jack, and I can use this on an input on the mic that is on here. So I can hook my receiver up to this video switcher, and I can have this on myself, and then I could record video that way. So I don't have to drag around this guy here all the time. So that's kind of nice. Again, it's going to make things a little bit nicer. And again, all we're going to need is that 3.5 millimeter to connect up from our receiver to the video switcher. And yeah, we're good to go. So as long as you have a 3.5 mic that can plug into there, you can adjust the volume. You can hear the volume or that through the headphone jack on the back. And then over here, we have like a master volume. Because remember, for each one of these inputs, HDMI input, you're going to be getting that audio from that input if it's there. So we have control over our two mics, and then we have control over like a master volume control right here for your gain. Let's go on to some of the other buttons on here. We've got a power button that is up here, which is really nice because some other video switchers do not have power buttons. They're just plugged in and they stay on constantly. It's not something I'm really, doesn't really flip my lid, so to speak. So I'm glad that they have a power switch. They have a mute so that you can mute everything. I don't know, something's happening and you just have to mute everything. You can use that button there. I think you got a program on and off. You've got 1, 2, and 3, which is kind of like the output that you can put, connect a monitor to this, and you can see different variations of that monitor. So that's going to come into play a little bit. Probably more for people that are doing podcasts, you know, people that have somebody like a technician that's going to run through and actually run the video board for you. So these probably won't apply to me. The other thing is this little button here that ends up being a freeze frame. I don't know why you'd want a freeze frame. If you know why you would want a freeze frame from your camera feed, I don't know, maybe you're making a thumbnail or whatever. I'm not sure where it stores it, or if it just freezes the feed and that's it, and then you'd have to do a screen capture. Yeah, I'm probably never going to use that. The other thing we end up having is the picture-in-picture. So you can have a top left, top right, bottom left. So it'll do a picture-in-picture, and you can select which camera input that you can have for your main, and then you can also pick a picture or camera feed that would be your picture in the picture. So that little box that comes up in those 4 different locations. As it is right now, just as this is, you can't adjust the position and you can't adjust the size of those, which makes me wonder if you connect this up to a computer, if there's some type of program that Ulanzi has that would allow you to do that. All right, just wanted to make sure I'm in frame. So yeah, that's another option. It's just kind of, matter of fact, I haven't read anything about that, so it would be interesting to see, because you can connect this up to your computer. And does this recognize as a video source? Is this associated with the Ulanzi program that you have to download? I'm not sure. I don't know. I might have to read the directions. Whoa. Okay, the other thing we end up having is our 5 inputs, which is pretty nice. We've got our inputs there, actually 4 HDMI, and then we have an out, and then we have an input and out as a loop. So that's going to be your 5th one there. We have on and off for each of those, and then we have these buttons down here on this row, AFV. And what that means is audio follows video. So in other words, there might be a reason, I'm not sure why, but let's say we've got the microphone on the camera that's that I'm speaking to you on right now, and I want to use that audio. If that is selected, then whenever I select this camera, it will default to this audio source from this camera. I can turn that off because, again, like I said, we can hook up our own microphone because of those microphone jacks. But if for some reason, it gives you some flexibility. If I wanted camera 1, like if this is our camera 1, and I wanted to use that audio source, I could. Then if I go to 2, maybe I'm going to this camera here that you're watching, and maybe I want that audio source. Or maybe if I've got this one here, which could be the overhead camera, as it's shooting down, maybe I want that audio source. Realistically, probably not something I'm going to use. I'm 100% sure I'm not going to use that because of the mic inputs, and I'll probably use a wireless microphone, so that way I don't have to worry about anything. So I could end up having my desk computer or my desk camera where I'm sitting at my desk on channel 1. I could do camera 2, channel 1. Camera 2 would be this one right here. Camera 3 could be this camera that you're looking at and viewing this right here. And then I could have like a camera 4 doing the overhead. And that's exactly what I want. I mean, how cool is that? The other thing that we end up having here is this slider bar, which is really smooth. And again, this has got some heft to it. But this slider bar is really smooth, and this is reminiscent of the T-bar in audio-visual equipment. Now, way back in the day, way back in the day, I took some drama classes in school, and you had this old equipment, you had the T-bar, and you could, like, you know, it's almost like a shovel handle where you could push it and you would transition from one camera to the other. It was pretty impressive. It was really old. But this is kind of like that. You can use the slider bar, and instead of having just a jump cut from camera 1 to camera 2, what I can end up doing is using this bar, and I can slowly fade from camera 1 to camera 2, or camera 2 to 3, or whatever cameras I'm going from one to the other. This isn't a true T-bar fader, because in a true T-bar, we would fade, say, from camera 1 to camera 2, and then we would be on camera 1, then as I push this up, it would start to fade, and then we'd fully get camera 2. And then if I wanted to go back, I would pull this down, and you would fade from camera 2 to camera 1. That's not how this works. What it ends up happening is you go from 1 to 2, it fades to camera 2, and then it has to reset by pulling this down, and then you could switch it going from 2 to 1, and you'd have to fade that into camera 2 to camera 1. Is that clear as mud? I hope so. So it's kind of a weird thing. I wish it was like a true T-bar. I'm not sure the thinking behind this of why you would want to fade from one camera to another and then have to reset and then fade and then reset and then fade to those other cameras. I just don't get it. You have these two buttons here for cut, and then you have auto, which auto is going to use that fade feature. Probably, I don't know, we'll see how this goes. It'll be very interesting using this with Ecamm Live, because that's what I'm streaming with now. The problem with Ecamm Live is that I've got two cameras on here, this one and this one here. And the problem is that on my Mac, these camera feeds will we'll get some technical difficulties. I'll have to shut down my computer, have to restart it, plug in the cameras again to reset it, restart Ecamm Live. Sometimes there's some technical glitches involved with that. But the great thing about this, and if I put in another camera or 4 cameras, oh good Lord, it doesn't work at all. It just causes so many problems. So that's why I only use like 2 cameras with the Ecamm Live. The great thing about this, again, I can have those 4 camera HDMI inputs like we see here for all of the 4 cameras that I want to use. And then I have an out, HDMI out that would go to my Mac, and it treats it all as one video source. I mean, so even though I have 4 HDMI cameras plugged into this, the out goes to my Mac Mini, and it only sees it as like one webcam. It's a 4K webcam, and it'll output as a 1080, which is still going to look really nice because of the 4K input. So there's a little bit of a trade-off, but that's what most of these video switchers are like, unless you're going to pay big money to have 4K in and 4K out, which I don't have. I'm just not built that way. So trying to save a little bit of money. The good thing was I didn't have to pay that much. But the secret sauce to this, another reason besides that, if that wasn't enough, is this cable is going to allow me to remote this. And this is going to be crazy because you're going to see it here. And this is just the unboxing video. So we'll just do a quick little version of this. And we're not going to extend this out or do anything crazy because, again, I'm limited in space and I don't want it to look all stupid. So let's say we've got all of our cables hooked up. What I can end up doing is now watch this magic. Oh, it's magnetic. I have a local and a remote. So in other words, what I can end up doing with this, with these mounting holes and brackets, I can mount this way over by my computer, and then I can use this USB-C, plug it into that C to C, and so this can be, at my computer desk, and then I can have this longer USB-C cable, and I can go ahead and plug that in right here, and now I have my remote. So why is that cool? Because I only have one cable, and I don't have like 4 computer inputs back here. I don't have the microphone. I don't have to have this sitting on the workspace here as I do my little painting. So I'm left with this. And so this is more manageable. I could actually have this like right in front of me, and I could have the cable routed so that that you don't really see it, and it just kind of pops up like here at the base. You bring it basically off camera, and then if I'm doing my painting and whatever it is, and I want to go to the overhead camera, boom, I just hit the button, it changes, and we're good to go. So again, or I could have this off to the side. The ability to remote this is huge, because otherwise I would have to have all of these cables running, and that's kind of a pain. So the ability to remote this, the only thing better would be like being able to live stream wirelessly and not have any cable. But if I had the choice of either having 4 or 5 cables running to the desk versus the one to this here, I'll take the one every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So again, this is going to be a game changer. I'm surprised because Ulanzi really isn't noted as being a video switcher, video type of company. They've got some, I don't know, but this is really nice. Now the other cool feature about this, and I want to show you, and there's some tight connections on there, so that's nice. The other thing that we have on here is we have these feet that will flip up, and then that allows it to be angled up a little bit. So you can either have it so it's flat, which is like then you could have these feet, and the feet also have little rubber on them. So it gives you a little bit. I wish these were a little bit longer. I would like something that would be kind of angled about like that. But you get a little bit of an angle, which isn't bad. Maybe I can make a 3D printed little thing on here to, little mount that I could put on this so it's more angled if I wanted to have it, off to the side or something. But still, it's a little feature that is nice, and again, you get a little bit more of an angled view, which is just a tiny bit better. Again, it's kind of a nice thought. I wish these were a little bit longer, probably a couple inches. I think that would be nice. So here it is, the Ulanzi DD02 specifically. It's a camera switcher that will have 4 4K HDMI inputs, and then we can also do a 4K input output. So if you had like a gaming rig, like your PS5 or 12 or whatever version that you're on, whatever gaming rig that you have, or even your computer, laptop or desktop computer that you're gaming on, you have the input and the output on that. So again, this will take everything and you'll have the out going from your switcher to your computer, and your computer thinks that it's only one video source, when in fact you have basically 5. So this is going to be a really, really cool item. And some people have complained about this item here because there is a fan in here, and so when you turn this on, the fan is on, and some people have complained about that. But if this has the ability to be localized or close to your computer, and you can remote this using the USB-C cable, then it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I got my air conditioner on and I got a fan going, so you might hear that. So I don't think the fan on this is going to be that bad. And if it is, this is going to be way over by my computer. I could put it down underneath. Again, I can put it in a location to where I won't hear the fan. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Some cool stuff. So there it is, folks. That is the boxing and specs. You could find more information, obviously, from Ulanzi, but I saw like a video on this on YouTube, and then not much after that. It's been out for, I think, a year, and there's been some reviews on it, some really good reviews, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to spend the money and get it. Buy once, cry once, and it's within my sort of within my budget. So it'll be interesting to set this up and have this working, and then work this in conjunction with my Ecamm Live. So that's the other thing, because I've been relying on Ecamm Live, and how is this going to work in switching scenes and so on and so forth. So my video format might change a little bit in using Ecamm Live along with the switcher. So like in the opening scene, it will probably, you know, we could either have it as at the computer desk, viewing me at the computer desk, and then I could come over here and we could do, boom, 2 would be this camera here for the picture-in-picture that we're doing, and then 3 and 4 could be like this camera here and the top-down view. So yeah, there'll be a little bit of a learning curve and adjustments in regards to the video switcher and Ecamm Live, but I'm welcoming that. So there might be a little bit of adjustment there. I really like the Ecamm Live. I love that program. Bought it when it was a one-time payment. Now it's a subscription fee, and I'm kind of grandfathered in. So we'll see if we can get these two to work together. But the great thing is I'll be able to get more camera feeds into this and only have one camera feed going to the Mac, which will be a lot less draining on its capabilities and resources that it has there. So anyway, okay, that's going to be it. We're going to finish up this video, and yeah, there won't be as much moving microphones around and all that. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go over here, because we still are operating on, oh, we got Ferrithus. Good morning. Looks like a Stream Deck, but it's all doing it in hardware rather than software. Yeah, it is. The little Ulanzi DD02 is what we're looking at here, and it's got a little remote function. And oh, we gotta go? Okay, I'm almost done. So you got the little remote function there with one cable, and yeah, that'll be pretty good. So anyway, I have to go because I have lunch with family. So we'll close this out right here. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe. Email address is there. Buy me a coffee. If not, just like the video. That's all I ask. And with that, some cool people on that scrolling ticker, all the people that bought me coffee, I have much respect for them. So with that, we'll close this out, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. Yep, good stuff.